Welcome, folks, to episode 179 of the Morgue official CorpseFeed podcast. And I am Arturo, Padilla, the guy behind the face. And with me, always, Mr. Nick Valdez. Tex, how are you, buddy? What's going on?
Oh, man. Howdy, everybody. Howdy, Arturo. Like, we're back to normal. We're back to our normal scheduled programming. So we did our Goldies Awards, we did our preview, and now we can just go back to reviewing movies because they're starting to come out again, right?
Yes, they are starting to come out. And as you guys saw in last week's episode, go check that out, episode 178. There's a bunch of good stuff actually coming down the pipeline for you guys, and we can't wait to bring it to you guys. But before we get to that, we have a bunch of coming attractions, right?
Yes,
coming
absolutely.
in for these folks today.
Yeah, so first is we got the trailer for Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, which is I thought it was a second trailer because the first one was so long, right? But apparently not, right?
I thought this was I thought the first thing we saw was a trailer, not a teaser. So that's surprising. Yes. I was down already. I didn't have to see all this extra stuff. It was cool to see the main baddie. I kind of didn't have to see that. I wish they would have saved that because it did look really cool. So let's see what happens though, Tex. Like I said, I was down from the teaser, so this one didn't really add anything to it either besides showing us the monster. It was like everything we already saw. And I'm like, oh, I saw this already. And then we saw, oh, the monsters in this one. So I guess this is the official first trailer, but I am assuming during the big game, we're going to, see some more, maybe like another spot or something.
Yeah, this was the one that's like hammered home that, oh no, they're going to be involved this time, like the old guys, right? Like they're going to be around this time. We're going to see a lot more of the old guard. They're involved with the story instead of like being cameos at the end, which was, we talked about that before. It's not really, I'm not really nostalgic for it. But in that first one, it worked because they popped up at the end. So, I'm wondering if, having them there the whole time.
Right? We did say this before.
Yes.
I mentioned that. I'm like, I like the way that it focused on,
it
the
was
young
just
generation,
the new crew.
right?
Yes.
And the family of Egon. So I hope we don't get a lot of the Bill Murray quips and the Dan Aykroyd back and forth and all this other stuff. That's what I'm a little concerned of because that can get out of hand quickly. But listen, like, it's cool. It's Ghostbusters. I liked what they did with Afterlife. So I'm down anyway. I mean, you guys I was down. Yeah.
Either way, we're seeing this. We're going to review it, and we'll follow up on it when it actually hits. The next thing is another thing we're just going to see, of course. Despicable Me 4. We got the first trailer for it, and you and I during the preview, you brought up the fact that is it aging up the girls? No, it answered that immediately, but Rue now has a baby. So
it's the formula, Text, right? It's the formula, right? You throw a baby in that thing, you make the dude a father. Again, I guess for a Gru.
Yeah, like I'm so surprised you and I didn't guess that, right? Like it's such like a sequel thing to do.
Because he adopted 3 girls already.
He was already a dad. Yes,
you don't need another baby, but I guess you wanted your own little kind of Gru out there, right? It's Gru Jr. or whatever it is.
It's the Baby Yoda effect, right? It's like, oh, okay, we're gonna have a baby Gru in this, and shenanigans and toys and whatever, right? But outside of that, it just looks like another cute, fun little movie, right? Like we're just gonna see.
Yeah, listen, I'm down. I've been watching these things in theaters since the first one came out, and that was before I had my kids. And now that my kids are invested in it, they're full on minions and stuff like that. So they know the lore and everything. There's a whole universe of this thing. So they were excited to see the trailer for this thing. So they're excited. Yeah. I'm excited. It should be a good deal at the movies. I hope they have cool little souvenirs at the theater. Cool little collectibles,
Yeah, like get a Minion popcorn bucket, right? Like it's the right, like it's right there. Just give it to us.
Yes. Give me a big bob about this, like this size,
Yeah. So the next trailer on this list, it's just the complete opposite, I guess. They're doing a Roadhouse reboot starring Jake Gyllenhaal, and we got the trailer for it. It's coming to Amazon. there was a whole thing online. I forget the director's name. He's a guy who's done stuff, but his whole thing was like he was upset at Amazon for like putting it on Amazon instead of like releasing it in theaters. And so, I had that in mind when watching the trailer, and I'm glad it's going to Amazon. I will just say that's
absolutely agree 1000%. We were like, we were watching this thing, and I
yes.
was like, huh, like, I'm glad this was straight to streaming.
Yeah,
It
it's
it it looks it. I understand the director was very upset about the streaming only theater. I guess he signed up. When he signed up, it was like gonna have a theatrical release. But listen, buddy,
hey, it
this
happens,
could work out for you. All right, it could work out where if the movie is actually good, Amazon has been known to put stuff in theaters because they
Yeah,
have that kind of money. So if it
and
if it is
that's
good and it has legs,
and that's the thing too. Yeah, you could be upset about it not going to theaters, but streaming releases, there's a lot to say if it happens to be like the biggest premiere on Amazon in ever or something like that, right? Like
yeah,
if it's such a hit that when it releases, people immediately watch it. And if Amazon could say, "Oh, it's our biggest release, it's our biggest movie drop in like a year or 3 years or whatever," that's also big. So it I'm glad it's not. I'm glad we don't have to go to the theater to see this, but it is one we are going to watch. And
yeah. But
we'll,
listen, like you
we'll,
said, I'm glad I don't have to pencil in a trip out of the house for this one. I can, I put it on the on the queue and then just worry about it in the evening.
yeah, because
Yeah,
that's the original Roadhouse too. Like I know Roadhouse was like theatrical, all that stuff, but I'm not of that gen. I didn't see it till it was on TV, and
yeah.
when I saw it on TV, that's how I associate Roadhouse. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
same. And
Like
even then, it was like a censored version and chopped up, edited version of the movie.
yeah,
So
it's just a guy who beats up other guys, and like yeah, that's cool and all, but that's not really like a big screen thing, right? It's not a John Wick where he's like fighting like a million dudes. It's
yeah,
and it's not a
listen,
trailer
like,
that we're going to talk about here in a bit, right? Where it's like yeah, it doesn't like visually look that impressive. It's
yeah,
just
but again, as we mentioned, it is something on our slate, and we will be watching it for you guys. So we'll let you know if it's a wait for it or stay away from it. Because off the bat, right
yeah.
now, it's a wait for it for
Yeah,
me.
it's giving waiter for it vibes, right? Yeah, totally. And
Absolutely.
it's kind of the same case for the next one we're talking about, Tarot, which is it's not coming to streaming, even though looking at it, you're like, oh, okay, that's like a good like
You know what though?
that's a
Like,
Hulu movie right there.
in its defense, I did watch the trailer prior to us going on air. In its defense, um, the monster designs, I have to say, look pretty gnarly and awesome, right?
I do agree.
That's
I
the
agree.
biggest takeaway from this one. Everything else looks like, Ouija Part 1, a fucking bomb,
Yeah.
excuse my French,
Yeah.
like it doesn't look good. Like the story adding up just doesn't um look like it's gonna add up to something quality. It looks like they're taking the really easy, way out. Oh, I found this deck, because off the bat in the trailer they say, oh, it's good to use your
Yeah.
own to use your own deck or something. And I'm
Yeah,
like, oh, here we go.
it's so funny that
Yeah.
kind of Talk to Me kind of ruined this for other movies, right? Because like in Talk to Me, they're like, oh, they kind of make fun of that whole setup, right? Of like,
Yeah.
oh, it's the hand of like a husband who killed his wife or something like that, and they, or it's like, oh, it was just some hand passed down that I got from my cousin who just happened to have it, and so that's the thing. Like it ruined that setup for me in the future. So now when I'm watching this, I'm like, oh, okay, it's just like, oh, we just found this deck of cards. Who cares, right? And I think the setup, and I totally agree that like the monster designs are probably what got it greenlit in the first place. Like
Agreed.
and it looks like it's going to be a lot of them. And unfortunately, about this trailer, we already kind of see all of them, and it's a shame. And
Yeah, it is it is a PG-13 vehicle, I think, right?
yes, it's all just going to be jump scares,
Yeah,
and
so it's
like
we have to see exactly how extensive they show these monsters, what actions they will be doing on screen. But like I said before, the story looks very simplistic, too
Yeah.
simple, honestly. Like in my opinion, especially for something like this, like don't make the same mistakes others did, especially with games,
Yeah.
with the existing like, black magic games and occult like games, you know what I mean? Like anything with dice and cards and like board games like Ouija, anything like that these people will be finding in an attic, you know what I mean? It's gonna lead to the same kind of road, you
Yeah,
know?
these horror game movies, like what was it, Truth or Dare, or like what was that one where I think that was Truth or Dare, where it was like they their faces kind of warped or whatever when they did stuff. Like it was these things generally go south, and it wasn't until Ouija 2 where we were like, yo, these movies have potential, and then look what happened. Mike Flanagan got a career. So the thing is, I I'm holding out hope that this could be one of those. It's like, oh, it's a hidden
Yeah,
gem, maybe, and
yeah.
like because that's the thing. We don't want to go in and be disappointed, right? So it's
Exactly, but
like,
no, but listen, like the Morgue and CorpseFeed will be there for you guys for this one.
yeah,
Like I mentioned, what's really attracting me to this one for sure
is
is
the
the
monsters.
creature
Yeah,
design.
yeah,
Again, how long they're on screen for, it's something different. How do they pertain to the story and all that stuff, and how everything goes down
yeah.
remains to be seen, right?
And this one has to be like an 80-minute something. Just get in and get out. If I
Dude,
look at that
listen,
runtime and it says like 2 hours, I'm done.
I am
I'm just
crossing my fingers right now for those of you who cannot see me on the YouTube show, which you should be. Go to YouTube and check us out. I'm crossing my fingers right now because uh, we've gone down this path before.
yeah,
We
yeah,
have gone down this road many a times before and has not been pretty. So please, for the sake of just of doing something different, let's let's do something different, right? Like
right.
crossing my fingers, and speaking of something different, right? This trailer next up for this movie called Immaculate. Um
Yes.
it's with Sydney Sweeney, who I mentioned last episode is going to be everywhere this year. You're going to hear us talk about her all the time. She's in a bunch
Yeah.
of genre stuff too.
Yeah, she
Madam
was
Web
just in a
included, right?
yeah, she was just in a
Unfortunately.
rom-com, I think, that hit earlier this year. Now she's gonna be in Madam Web, and then
Yeah,
now
the
in
rom-com
this.
with Glenn Powell with
Yeah, so
Mr. Top Gun.
that's three completely different movies,
Yeah.
right? Like, yeah,
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
I
So, this one in particular though, Tex, I do have some concerns about this one. The trailer looks very good in terms of how ominous it looks and the vibe and all that stuff. Like with the first Omen trailer, that vibe thing. This one
yeah,
has that vibe, but I have seen this story recently. There was a movie called Deliver Us. I reviewed it on my Instagram on CorpseFeed. Go check that out. It's kind of about this nun in a not a coven
it's not
in
in a
a
coven,
convent.
yeah.
A nun in a convent who gets pregnant by holy means or something. In that movie it turns out it was like a first omen thing or an omen thing where it was the devil and it was the antichrist and like the the antichrist, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Twins, you know what I mean? So this one in particular, seeing the nun pregnant and stuff, I'm like, oh, let's see where this goes. The
Yeah,
vibe
it
is definitely different because in Deliver Us, it has a very actiony feel. It goes away from the horror stuff. It gets very action, very we have to run away from these people chasing us and all this stuff. So this one looks like it's keeping it more to this very dark, vibe. So I don't know, man. I'm a little concerned because I saw this story and it's a trend I've seen, especially in genre films and genre filmmaking, where when there's a a particular topic, it kind of gets done over and over again several times in different iterations. So let's see what this one has in store.
so
But Tex, I want to know what you think about this.
yeah, at least on my end of things, I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah,
Right. So I haven't seen Immaculate Conception as a thing outside of like Rosemary's Baby or whatever. And so here, like I immediately got devil baby vibes. So I'm like, oh,
yeah,
okay, she's got a devil baby, and but I think what draws me here, it's not exactly like the idea itself, right? It's not the Immaculate Conception. Like that's a good hook, but I think what makes this interesting, just in terms of just vibes. Once again, first Omen thing where I was like, yeah, I'll defend the vibes, right? So, but here, I think it looks to be more about the people reacting to the fact that she has like a baby, right? Like a
Yeah.
god baby, and I do want to see more of that. Like I hope that it's more about like the religious people reacting to the fact that she's basically become like a saint or whatever through this Immaculate Conception, right? So I'm hoping.
Yeah.
And it seems to have like a lot of those things, right? They're like worshiping her at points, and then they're doing all sorts of weird stuff. So I'm
yeah,
hoping
it becomes like it becomes very kind of occultish and very like
yeah. And this
religious
is
per
and
se.
that's the stuff I want to see more of, and I hope that's
Agreed.
what it is, because it's more
I agree.
interesting than she just has a devil baby,
Yeah.
because like you said, it's a thing that's that has been seen. It's new to me, so I'm curious to see what this ends up becoming.
Yeah,
But
me too.
I hope it's more about the people reacting to the fact that she has a devil baby or a god baby or whatever they decide it turns out to be, right? And I think
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
what'll make this really hit is that if she actually gives birth to the thing, and if at some point in the movie we get like a demon baby look, because that was the whole thing
Demon
with
babies
Rosemary's Baby,
are always
right?
cool in
Like
my book. Yeah. I mean, yeah, we
that,
definitely got the demon baby at the end. So
yeah. So like, and there's a reason why people remember that movie. It's because of the demon baby. So any movie you can get a demon baby, I'm in. So I'm with
yeah,
it. Like
listen, like
I'm looking at it.
I'm
I'm
down
with it.
too. I'm down too. This one looks like it's taking a different direction.
Yeah.
As I mentioned before. So I'm
I
down
hope it's
with
not
it.
up its own butt though, right? Like this could also go completely south, right? Like it looks like it could also be very like
What studio is it
insisting upon
again?
itself,
What studio is it again? Is it Neon?
It's Neon's distributing it, so it's like you
Yeah,
know
Neon, for
Neon.
instance, if for those who don't know
They
Neon,
have that track record,
yeah, absolutely. For instance, their first major kind of like big like release was that Neon Demon from Wending Refn
Yes,
back
and
years ago.
this is why I thought they were named Neon. Like I thought it
Yeah,
was like a
yeah, me too.
Neon production
Me
company, right?
too.
I
But
was like,
that
oh
being
yeah,
said and all that, no comedy or laughs here. That being said, Neon Demon wasn't the best. And Neon itself has had a track record of not of having more style over substance. And that's what I'm a little concerned about. Because
yeah.
A24 had a lot of substance and it had the style afterwards, and it just kind of blended in. Over time it's changed, but Neon has always put that style first.
Yeah,
So
neon
yeah,
is aesthetic. Neon
yeah,
is when you want
that's the
like an
word for it.
aesthetic movie, right? When you want like a
Agree.
movie with a certain visual flair, then you watch neon things. But they don't always have the substance to back it up. So
Yeah.
I completely agree. This could go. That's the thing. There are two extremes here. It could go either way, and I'm hoping it's a good one.
Yeah.
Especially because it's coming in March, so we'll be
Yeah.
seeing that fairly soon.
Very soon.
Yeah,
And
so
speaking of going smoothly and positively, is this next one on the list, right? The final trailer in our coming attractions here.
yes, one
Monkey
thousand
Man.
percent, 1000%.
Monkey Man, Monkey Man. Dev Patel's debut, right?
Yeah,
As
his
director.
directorial debut. Yeah,
Dude, like wow. Impressive trailer. Hooked.
yeah,
I'm so down. It has vibes of like Ong Bak with like uh, uh Protector
yeah, and
along with
it's got
oh
that cleanliness of the John Wick style, right? Of
yes,
like
it looks very crisp, right?
yeah, like
The
you've got
choreography and the
and the
movements look very good, man.
yes. So it's like it's cleaned up, it's tightened. Like it looks like it's gonna have like that's the thing. We were just talking about Roadhouse, where it's like, oh, it's just a movie about a dude who beats up other guys, right? And Monkey Man is exactly that, but there seems to be already stuff going on, right? Like it
Yeah, there's
looks
a lot
like
behind it already. There's like
yeah,
there's an underground like, crime factor going on here.
yeah, it looks like it's a whole world, right?
The
And
fighting thing looks really cool too. This ring, like he has this
yeah,
like, there's a ring here. He's wearing this monkey mask and everything. It looks really dope. I hope it's good. That being said, I hope it's
yeah,
good.
you 1000% agree, because it also could go the other way completely, right? Like
Always. It
this
can
one could
always go
this
the other way.
this one could also be up its own butt, this one could
Yeah.
also like reach for things that it's not saying, right? It could very well like I haven't seen Dev Patel in something in a while. Like I didn't see Green Knight. Did you? I
No,
didn't.
I didn't either. I heard positive things about it. Not
Right.
too many negative things. So I want to catch it sometime and see how good it was.
And
But
then
yeah.
but usually when an actor decides to go into directing, it's like, I'll make it my own damn self kind of thing. So I'm hoping like that this is that kind of movie, right? Where
He
he's
wrote the
like,
movie as well. Like he
yeah,
wrote the script. So
yeah. So I'm hoping
he's
this is
writing
one of
and
those
directing.
things
So yeah.
where he's like, I'm
I
making this my own damn self. If no one's gonna make it for me, I'll do it myself. And
yeah, agreed.
I,
I do hope it does come out positive for him, because at times
yeah,
we've seen, like, for instance, Keanu Reeves had a movie. It was released on Netflix. It was his like a directorial debut for him. It was a martial arts movie.
Man of
He
Tai Chi.
Yes. He played the bad guy in that movie as well.
Yeah,
And like
okay, so I like Man of Tai Chi.
I
I will
liked
be
it.
honest.
It wasn't the best though. It
Yeah,
wasn't terrible. It wasn't terrible,
it
right?
wasn't terrible, but it was
Yes.
also not great. So and
But
then
honestly though, like I was like it was watchable. It just wasn't what I thought Keanu would have given us some more like,
yeah,
But
yeah,
listen,
it
hey,
was
like you made a movie. I haven't, so that's awesome. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
and
So great.
I'm a sucker for like fighting tournament movies, like
Oh, I love my
Bloodsport,
tournament.
Kickboxer,
We need a
Kumite,
we need a show about,
yeah, like
tournaments. The Quest. Have you
yeah,
guys
I'm
seen The Quest out there with Jean-Claude Van Damme, where he plays
oh
like it's like in the early 1900s or whatever, and
dude,
he
yeah,
yeah, The Quest was dope. My mom took me to see that in the theaters, by
dude,
the way.
I
Shout out to my
love
mom.
yeah, like I love a good tournament in a movie. Like when you can like it, and that's the thing too. Just sidebar before we get into the feature presentation, right?
Oh, for
Like
sure.
I love tournaments,
I
when
love
it's like a sports
tournaments.
tournament or it's like a, fighting tournament. When you put a tournament story in a movie, it just, I don't know, man, something about it just like amps it up, right?
Because
Like
there's
OG,
stakes, right?
yes, right?
There's stakes and consequences, man.
Yeah, like look at movies like Karate Kid, right? Where it's like I think Karate Kid is probably like the quintessential example of like a fighting tournament movie, right? It's the one you could
Honestly
probably
though, like I'm sorry, I have to put myself out there. I like Karate Kid. Not the first thing I think of when it comes to tournaments, folks.
yeah.
Best of the
Well,
best.
it is Bloodsport though. Like Bloodsport's probably like
Bloodsport,
the
yes,
first one.
but like sanctioned karate stuff, Taekwondo stuff.
That's true. That's fair.
Like I don't think of Karate Kid. Best of the best, man. You know what? I'm gonna have to have a drop where it goes, "Pop it, Tommy, pop it," when Eric Roberts
Yeah.
fucking popped his shoulder. But best of the best. Again, it has consequences. James Earl Jones is in it as the coach of the team and everything. So we need to have a show about
Yeah,
tournaments,
we're
man.
gonna have to do like
We
a
definitely do.
tournament. Yeah, we're gonna have to do a tournament. I think like a tournament of like tournament movies or something. Like we're gonna have to like play the long game
Ooh,
with this
hey,
one. Yeah.
March Madness is coming up, right?
Yeah, yeah. We're gonna
Listen,
have to make our own bracket and kind of figure it out from there. Like, and
Tex, say no
yeah.
more, Tex. Say no more. We're gonna work on that for you guys because that sounds like a lot of fun. But
Yeah.
folks, it wasn't a lot of fun. Our feature presentation. Welcome back, folks, and this is our feature presentation of today's show, and we're covering the one and only Argylle. Matthew Vaughn, I believe, is the
Yes.
director. And honestly, just off the bat, wait for it. that's just before I get into spoilers, because I think we need to talk about spoilers in order to really break this down properly. But yeah, for me, it's a wait for it. Honestly, uh, it had a cool story to it. It had a cool story. It was long, man. It felt very long to me. It dragged out in the middle of the movie a lot.
Yeah.
We're gonna get into that some more, but for me, it's a wait for it, folks. This honestly is an example of something that should have been released on Prime or any kind of streaming vehicle.
Yeah,
Honestly,
speaking of direct to streaming, right?
yeah,
So
exactly.
okay, so setting us up here, pay for it. What for those who are just joining us for the first time, our scale is pay for it, wait for it, or stay away from it. Pay for it is go to the theater to see it or rent it immediately whenever it's
Mhm.
available to pay. Wait for it is wait for it to become available at home, stream it at home, rent it digitally, all that stuff. And then stay away from it, self-explanatory, right? So, but Argylle, I will also say, wait for it, and stay away from it. It's in that tier for me where it's like, it's very, like, it's on the borderline right there of
Yeah.
like, you don't need to see this really. Yeah,
Yeah,
you don't need to see it and you won't be missing out on anything. But
it's not gonna add
also,
anything.
like if you're if you have like Apple TV Plus and it hits Apple TV Plus in like a couple months and you're like doing the laundry or something, maybe turn it on, then you can see it then, right? Like there are worse options streaming wise, but I think it's on that borderline of like, yeah, like you I don't think you'll miss out on anything by not seeing it. Unfortunately, that's the thing, because like getting into it, I guess, yeah, like I guess we'll just put the spoiler tag from here on out, right?
Yeah, yeah, we're just gonna
Just in
talk about it.
case, yeah, because you kind of have to just talk about it here, because Matthew Vaughn. So spoiler alert from here on out. We will be spoiling Argylle. We will be spoiling who the real Agent Argylle is, because that was the whole thing in the marketing. It was a big joke among fans
Yeah.
online of just like, oh, who could it be? Maybe they're getting like a random actor for it. Spoiler alert, no, it's part of the story, and then the story continues from that point on. So Argylle, it is needlessly complicated. I think that is basically what the big criticism of it, right? Is just,
Agreed.
I think you can say outright. One of the things about Argylle too is it is adapted from like a real book, and there was some shady dealings with it, because it was a book that some author immediately put out, and then it also got greenlit for a movie. Like it was, and so people are like, okay, is the author somebody like well known, writing under a pen name or something? Because
Yeah.
it got like, and so that was a whole other, who is the real author to like there isn't, on top of whatever's going on in the book. It's like there's a whole other thing about it. But the movie itself, if you've seen any recent Matthew Vaughn movie, you've seen Argylle. So
Great point, yeah. That's the
yeah,
best way to put it, the perfect way to put it.
yeah, like it is set within the Kingsman universe, which makes it once again needlessly complicated. I'm just,
Because it doesn't have
I
to be. It doesn't have to be, you know? It could have been a
yeah,
thing
like
all on of itself, you know?
yeah, and that's the thing too. And I get Kingsman and wanting to have that franchise tie, but also, yeah, because then it starts raising even more questions about it, right? Like it starts going like, because okay, so Argylle is it's what the trailers say. It's a writer who writes a story, and then it turns out these stories are real spy missions that she's
Mhm.
predicting. And then the first what, like half of the movie, I think, is basically following that trend, right? Of like
Yeah.
her piece helping, like Sam Rockwell's agent shows up to like help her piece all that together so they can get some other MacGuffin. And then halfway through the movie, spoiler alert, it's revealed that she's actually the Agent Argylle, like
Yeah,
who, her
she's
name,
been
her
brainwashed and all this, so
yes, like she's the real Argylle, and she's been writing out her missions, and she's been brainwashed by like this evil syndicate who's using like her to like write out these missions to like reveal where this MacGuffin is. And then that's about halfway into it, and then 3/4 into the movie, then there's another twist that she was actually working for this evil syndicate, and
Yeah.
she was like, she was going to betray what's his name, and then it's like, oh, she's got amnesia at the same time, and it's like, remember your spy stuff, remember all this.
Yeah, remember Simba.
And then the
Remember.
movie keeps going from there. Like, you know, the 3/4 in, it's like, oh, she's also an evil member of the syndicate. The movie then keeps going. And it's like, oh, okay, we have to close up this whole thing, this romantic relationship she had with Sam Rockwell's character. They have to have more fight scenes. And just laying out the plot itself, I hope really clarifies just how needlessly complicated this all is. Like, it's just, it's
it hurts to even like really kind of break it down like this. Just listening to you break it down, Tex, I'm like, damn, this thing really is needlessly complicated, you know?
A lot happens in it, and a lot
too
happens
much.
for no reason, right? Like, it's
Yeah.
kind of, it's way too much. Like,
Agreed.
It would have been cleaner if the real Agent Argylle was just somebody else, right? I think it would have been cleaner if she just happened to be the author who figured out the story. You would have had a clean comedy, you know, because then, you know, then it's like, oh, this author learns how to fight like a spy. And then by the end of it, she's like fighting with like all her skills or whatever. And I feel like that would have just been, it wouldn't have been a great movie, but it also wouldn't have been as complicated as this one here. Like, it feels so bogged down.
There was a point in the movie, to be totally honest with all of you people out there, that the point in the movie after she found out that her parents were not her parents, right? And Rockwell came back to save her. I think I legit took a micro nap, because the next thing I know, like, she figured out she was the agent, you know? And I'm like, wait a minute, did I miss something?
Yeah,
Because,
you
like,
missed the whole Samuel Jackson part of it all. So,
no,
you know,
because I
like,
know about Samuel Jackson and all that, but, like, I don't remember them clearly. Like, what I didn't really like about it, like, I understand she was the, you know, the agent behind this, but, like, to trigger her memories and stuff, they did a lot of, like,
yeah, they brainwashed her with like, it's movie brainwashing. It's like
yes.
because she was okay. So the whole thing with the real story was, see, this is where it gets complicated, because it's like she met up with a hacker that was like going to give her a flash drive of all the people in the syndicate who she worked for at the time.
Yeah.
And she kills him, caught up in an explosion that he set, like a booby trap, and it injures her so much she gets amnesia. Then the boss of the syndicate and like some scientist lady played by Catherine O'Hara, you know, and Bryan Cranston, great actors in any other kind of scope of the thing. And honestly, the thing is, they weren't that bad here either.
No,
that's the thing.
They were good. They understood what they had to do, honestly. Like, they got it. They got it more than I got it, you know? So I'm like, okay, cool. We're good.
I think just one blanket positive across the whole movie. I don't think there were any bad performances. I will say that straight out. I think everybody knew what they were there for. Sam Rockwell is obviously the standout, because I don't think I've ever been disappointed by him in a movie. I think I could say that safely. I'm trying to remember if I like didn't like him in something, but yeah, I don't think I can. Like, I think I like him in everything he's been in. And then Bryce Dallas Howard, you know, she's not bad either. She gets to like be an action hero, and she's pretty good at it. Like, you know, she knows what to do. You know,
yeah. I mean, I have to disagree with the good at the action hero stuff. Honestly, I liked her role as
the author, right?
As
like
the author, you know, as Ellie. You know, I think she portrayed that very well. That character that's like, oh my god, I'm just stuck in this whole kind of nonsense, and then like. I think they should have done more with that, you know? I didn't really see her that convincing as this assassin, this killer. Honestly, that really took away from it.
That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah, and then as we trudged along through the movie, there were you know, some crazy action sequences that completely just like, you know, took me out of the entire movie.
And so so let's talk about that next, right?
Let's do it.
Matthew Vaughn, you know, if if anyone at home, buddies at home have seen his movies, you likely know his style. His style for like doing action is it's very kooky. It's very like they're very long too. That's the thing. Like his movies when he does action movies, they're usually very long. And long, and I mean long in terms of long sequences, like there are a lot of them, like the best, this is why, like in Kingsman, when he got his own franchise, it kind of went a little wild because they kind of gave him full reign to do those wacky action sequences.
Text, remind me real quick, what did he do prior to Kingsman again?
X-Men First Class, Kick-Ass, and then it wasn't really anything else. It was like Stardust and Layer Cake were the other two movies, but
Layer Cake was pretty good actually.
Yeah. And once he got Kingsman, he just became like the Kingsman director. And then with Argylle was his first non-Kingsman one until you realize that, oh no, it's a Kingsman movie. And so but that's the thing, he's gotten so used to kind of doing these elaborate flowery action sequences that like are also kooky and like are also meant to be a little funny, and so because of that, Argylle's weighed down. Like it's weighed down by these because there are almost too many of them, where it's like, like I think by the end when Ellie and Sam Rockwell's characters are like fighting together, and it's like they're also like, but it's a dance and they're in love, and like I think by that point I was like, all right, like it's time. I wanted to do the wrap it up side, I'm like, okay, like it's time for us to go,
Yeah, I said when we first started the review here, like I actually dug the story. Like I liked, the whole that she was the whole agent. That was cool and everything, but like it got, as you mentioned, throughout this the course of this conversation, that it got a little out of hand, right? And it sucks because it got out of hand at the points where it should have kind of grabbed you in more. You know what I mean?
Yeah, great point. Yeah.
Those sequences where where she goes and she's wearing this gold dress. She looks gorgeous, right? Both of them are all like dressed up and they got caught, right? And now they're in this facility, which it turns out to be a huge freaking, oil boat tanker thing in the middle of the ocean, right? And they got into this like armory room and found all these weapons. And I'm like, okay, cool. We're going to get some gunfights here. Dope, And we did, but there was so much CGI involved in this scene. In the coming action sequences, I should say, not just this one, that completely just like turned me off, man. We get I like the whole smoke thing, obviously you need a smoke screen to kind of thing that works fine.
Colored smoke made for like
cool.
Visually, right? Visually, it was there.
Cool, but then they just kept going. And they kept going, and then they started, as Tex mentioned, they started dancing. Like in the middle of this
because they're rekindling their romance during all this.
Yeah, but it's like,
and that's the goofy Matthew Vaughn twist, and I get it, but also, like it's one of those because because in the context of the movie, this is like the 6th or 7th fight scene we've seen with that kind of goofy twist in it, right?
Yes,
like this, none of, and I guess maybe it's because like Argylle is supposed to be that comedic kind of tone, but like none of the fight scenes in the movie like have like, they're never played straight or like played, they all have that goofy little tinge to it.
It's not like a Bourne Identity fight scene, you know what I mean?
Yes. And it doesn't have to be, but also it is, I do have to say, it's by the time we get to that one with like the smoke and they're dancing and it's long and you're like, all right. And then another one happens after that where she's like an ice skater also, because they're like, oh, was the ice skating part of her memories real? Boy. And apparently it was. I got a lot of problems with you people.
I had to hit it.
And she like ice skates through the oil, and what sucks is that scene, I really dug the idea of the knives into the shoes, and like I was like, yeah, that's a cool idea. I like give it credit where it's due. But at the same time, it's when you see her ice skating and then like,
see again, like it's a cool idea that's taken the extra mile because it didn't have anyone to be like, hey, listen, this is a really cool idea, but let's stop it at the point where, you know, this happens or before she starts freaking doing a whole Olympic routine. You know what I mean? It's and with guns involved and everything, and she doesn't get shot and she doesn't get any oil on her, which is like, how is that even possible? There's one scene where she's like literally sliding on the oil and gets nothing on her. And I'm like, I'm done. Like,
and then and
at that point, I was done.
Yeah, like I get it, right? Like this is exaggerated Matthew Vaughn action. This is the kind of world he's playing with. But like it would have been cool if she ended up looking like Shakira in the Tortura video, you know, where she's like just like completely, and then maybe
it would have.
That was my thing, is like
the chance was right there.
We needed that like bit of seriousness, you know what I mean? It's like we just needed a little bit more to like, because then after that,
we never got that seriousness when we needed it. You're absolutely right about that.
And there's a whole other fight scene after that. Like that's the thing. It's these moments are cool, but it's like,
and it's funny because that's the serious fight scene, right? That's like the most serious hand-to-hand combat scene that they actually had, right? Because it's a cool moment. Again, it's another moment, right? Where
and that's
where O'Hara's a character comes out, Catherine O'Hara, who plays this, as Tex mentioned, this evil kind of, you know, psychiatrist, doctor, or whatever. She hypnotizes her again with this music box, right? And that's cool. That's dope. I really dug that. I wish we got that sooner. I wish we would have cut out like some stuff from the middle and got to that point sooner, because I dug that. That made sense. I was a fan of Catherine O'Hara in the movie too. I thought she did a good job along with Cranston. Like they kind of understood the mission here, and they really kind of played the roles super well, to be honest. To the point where, like, even though I knew some shenanigans were coming, I was like, "Oh snap, you're the father," you know? And then you got me, and like, "Oh my god, you're not the father," you know? So they had some really cool moments there, man. But like as Tex mentioned, it's all kind of taken those very cool detailed moments that matter in the story and progress the story from act to act, right? Those beats get lost because of the excessive action. Like the action sequences that really worked for me and that really kind of just did the job. The train sequence was awesome. Like when he first got introduced, right? That was great. Like if they kept the action like that, like, I think it would have been a more successful thing. Like there's nothing wrong with mimicking Ethan Hunt, you know what I mean? Or any of those movies.
And even then, it got overly complicated because at the same time, Ellie was like having flashes of the Argylle character that she wrote. So it was like Henry Cavill also spliced into the fight. And it's supposed to be funny because he's like smooth and taking all the things, and you cut to Sam Rockwell and he's like,
you know what though? Like I kind of did enjoy that in a way because it did give Cavill, who's
gave Cavill something else to do, right?
It gave Cavill something else to do and gave him more range, because before he was just this kind of, this cookie cutter spy action hero, right? But in those scenes, I really enjoyed it because it did give Cavill that extra range to show that, hey, I can do other things here. And what I also kind of dug a little bit was that they could have taken this angle where it's like, hey, this obviously because of the brainwashing thing, this woman's mind is not, completely healthy here, and she's seeing Argylle here in a way to cope. But then like everything gets kind of smashed when you find out she's the agent and all this stuff. And like and there was a story here that could have been done way simpler, but Matthew Vaughn again doing Matthew Vaughn, right?
Yes, it's so needlessly complicated. There are all these ideas in here that did work. That's why I say I still can't say complete stay away from it. This is why it's on that border of like, if you eventually watch it, you won't be entirely disappointed, but also like it's just it's overly long. It's got so many things going on, and like and then it keeps doing that thing where it's like a reveal is not the reveal because it's another reveal within a reveal, right? It's
that was very tiring.
it's like,
I
oh,
also
she's
feel
the real
Sam
Agent
Jackson's character
Argylle.
was very underused as well.
He
Like
didn't need to be in there. Like the
it
whole
looks
thing
like
is
he was just hanging out in his home office. I'm like, is that like I was questioning for a second. I'm like, is that an actual location in Sam Jackson's house? Because that desk looked really custom made and everything. And I'm like, damn,
dude,
it looks like this is how he really chills out, watching
yeah.
basketball, right?
Yeah, like if I imagine Sam Jackson's like home office setup, this is what I would imagine it looking like, right? Like, and that's the thing too. It's his scenes are so few and far between. You can imagine him like being on set for like 1 or 2 days, and then that was all he did, right? Like, because it's kind of all he needed to be there for.
Again, another aspect, right? Another component of this movie that really kind of like he didn't do anything, even after at the end, right? Even after he received these files, like what did he do with them, right?
And
what
nothing.
did he do with them? Nothing,
It's because like
Black,
then
nothing.
Okay, so let's close out this one by kind of talking about how it gets even more complicated than necessary, because like, so the movie ends, they all escape successfully. She turns it into her next Argylle book. She writes it as Argylle's final adventure, and through that we find out what happens to the other characters. And then there's another character who like we didn't mention here, but she was in the beginning of the movie, and it's like, oh, she was killed in action, but she wasn't killed in action. And then
I call that so much. I saw that the minute you said, "Oh, a fan sent me the email." I was like, "Oh,
it was and it's person. It's not like hidden that well either. It's not that hidden of a twist, right? Like it's
not even.
But, and so the final scene of the movie is Henry Cavill I guess it's the real version of. Okay, so that's
of who exactly the real version of who
is it the real? Because she's Agent Argylle, but he's apparently also Agent Argylle, because like he, it's a mulleted version of Henry Cavill.
But like, how is that known?
Yeah. What sucks is I saw him and I'm like, man, that's Superman right there. That's mullet Superman. You know what I mean?
My Superman forever. Especially with the curly mullet. It was like the old school Superman from the 90s, right?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Comics. I saw him get up and I'm like, that's my Superman. That's mullet Superman right
forever.
there. And then okay, so the movie closes on him because he's like, oh, I guess we have some things to talk about. Completely complicated, right? Because you're like, okay, who is he?
Yeah, because I'm like, who is this?
Yeah, and so a mid-credit scene then like reveals the Kingsman bar or whatever. So then it like completely ties into the Kingsman universe. You see a young version of who I assume is the Henry Cavill character, getting brought into whatever's going on and becoming a spy. And then like at the end it says Argylle Book 1, the movie coming soon.
Yeah.
Which I'm just like, oh my God. If this becomes like a franchise within a franchise within a
but
I kind of like unless it means more Henry Cavill, but
yes,
like if it's Henry Cavill's right, I think that's the only way to do it, is if it's Henry Cavill's spy franchise where he gets to be goofy.
Dude,
okay,
like watching the movie and just getting really bored in the middle of it, I was like, damn, we should have gotten more of the like Henry Cavill, John Cena stuff. That was cool, dude. I want to see more of that stuff,
Yeah.
But so if it does, like, listen, if it does accomplish that, Cavill and Cena more on screen, I'll take it. But it has to be that. It has to be that. It has to be these crazy things where he's driving a freaking car on the roof.
Yeah,
it has to be that,
to chase after Dua Lipa on like a motorcycle, or whatever, and then it's like, I don't blame poisoned.
Him, I don't blame him for chasing though.
That's the thing too. Like when it opens, I was kind of into it. I'm like, okay, this is the story part, and that's what I'm saying. It's so needlessly complicated, because then who is Henry Cavill? Like, who is that character, right? Like, it's like
exactly like who are you and what? Like
he can't be Argylle because she's Argylle, and it's like
that's the whole point of the movie, right?
Yeah,
that she herself is Argylle. Like literally the stories she's putting in these books are the missions she's gone on, right? So,
Yes,
like,
yes.
introducing that aspect so extremely late in the movie like that, after showing that the Cavill character was all in her head when she, dissolved the character in the mirror, um, I was just like, man, that went over my head, dude. I'm so done with this.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so
that's the
yeah.
thing. It's so, this is, once again, I have to repeat myself. It's just needlessly complicated. Like, there are so many things on top of things on top of things on top of things that you're like, come on, you couldn't just give us like a straightforward spy comedy movie thing. And
Because they
no.
had it. They were doing it, you know?
Yeah,
Like
like
you
when
had
it's literally that first half of the movie, I was
yes.
entertained. I was
Agreed. Yep.
entertained up until she was revealed to be Agent Argylle. And
Yes, I was entertained. I was being charmed by Sam Rockwell. I liked the
yes,
chemistry and the dynamic these people were having, and I'm like, "You know what? I'm down for this." But then, like, it just
yeah,
kept going, and
yeah,
then just
because
kept adding more stuff, and I'm like, "Oh, wait a minute. This is going somewhere I'm
that
not a
first
fan."
half teases that it's like a spy action comedy, that they're gonna fall in love as she like learns how to be a spy, right? And then I was like, oh, okay. And then at the end of the movie, she's gonna become an official spy behind it, is because she's an author or whatever, right? And but no, like, then it gets bogged down by so much just it's garbage. It's just bogged down
Yeah,
by
it
garbage that,
is, it
like,
is.
uh
No one went, through that script and edited the stuff that shouldn't have been there, you know? There's a lot of
yeah,
fluff in
stop
there, to
giving
be honest
Matthew
with
Vaughn
you.
free reign. Stop giving him free reign. Just stop it.
Yeah, like,
It's done.
like Snyder and stuff like that. We haven't even seen Rebel Moon. Who even
Yeah.
knows when part 2's coming out, you know? Who kn
And
but,
Sophia Patel is in here too. Like, shout outs to her, like
she's
she
always
gets to
dope, though. I
show up
like
in here.
Sophia
Yeah.
Boutella.
I For her sake, I hope Rebel Moon is great because she's great. Like, that's the thing, is
Yeah, she's really cool,
she,
man.
yeah, she's another kind of actress that when she's in something, you can at least count on it being cool, because she's just a cool presence,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like,
she is. Yeah, she's like this, generation's Michelle Rodriguez, right? When
yeah,
Michelle
when she's
Rodriguez
in
came
something, you're
out with,
like,
like, Resident Evil and
yeah.
stuff like that, she was this
Yeah.
badass, character. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh,
Um
let's get Sophia Boutella in here. Let's toss her
Yeah,
in. And it's
modern
like,
age
all right,
ready.
cool.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, folks, before we wrap everything up here in this show, we like to leave you guys with a nice little recommendation for you guys to just check out. We haven't recommended anything last few episodes, as Tex mentioned. There was an award show, a preview show, all this stuff, but hey, we're back. And we're talking
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
spy stuff. If you want to really catch spy stuff, why don't you go on the streaming app? I think it's on Paramount, and watch Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning. Catch up on that one
Oh,
before the
yeah,
new one
that's
comes
my
out, man.
recommendation too. Like, I
That
hate to
movie's
I hate to jump
freaking
on
good,
yours,
man. No, it's
but
all
yeah,
good, man.
yeah.
It's that movie's so good. Yeah, like, it's a really good movie. I didn't want to put it in the best of because it was just part of a story. I can't wait to see the end of that thing, man.
Oh, yeah. So, well, speaking of that, speaking of Henry Cavill's spy, The Man from U.N.C.L.E., also a great movie. I don't know where it's streaming, so that one,
Yes. Yes,
yeah,
actually, that was
that,
pretty decent. I saw it in theaters. It was before Army Hammer was, became Army Hammer, we know, right?
yeah,
So,
yeah, before he got Army hammered, so
but I like it. I like it, folks. But yeah, go check out Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning on Paramount Plus. I believe it's there for you guys, along with all the other Mission Impossibles. If you really want to see spy
yo,
stuff done
just watch. You know
correctly,
what? Just watch
yeah,
Mission Impossible.
yeah, except part
Uh,
3. Don't watch part 3.
no,
Oh, I'm
watch
sorry,
Ghost
2.
Protocol. Ghost Protocol, and you get good
Yes.
Henry Cavill there too, right? So yeah,
Yes,
there you go.
yes. There
Yeah.
you go. Perfect. You get awesome Harry Cavill there. He should have his own movie after that one, man.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, folks, go check out. It's funny we're ending it up with Mission Impossible. Go check out Mission Impossible. It's streaming now, folks. Yeah, once this one drops, you guys can catch it if you want. But we warn you, it's a long movie. You're gonna get bored with it. It's a lot going on, and it's not one of
Yeah.
those movies where you can do stuff at home and then come back to it because you'll get super
Yeah,
lost.
if you want that, and you want like an over 2 hour movie, just watch a Mission Impossible.
Oh yeah, except part 2. That one's not good.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Avoid part 2 and the Chimera thing. That was terrible.
Yeah, it was
But
too
part 3,
far.
go watch part 3 with the late Philip Seymour Hoffman. He was fantastic as Owen
Yo,
Davian.
yeah,
Man.
absolutely.
Oh man. Anyways, folks, thank you so much. This was episode 179 of the Morgue, an official CorpseFeed podcast, and I am Arturo Padilla, the guy behind the face, and with me always is Mr. Nick Valdez. A big shout out goes to Del Varis for all the artwork you see in front of you. A big shout out goes to you guys for listening. We have 178 of these things for you anywhere you get your podcast: Apple, Spotify, Amazon, what else? iHeartRadio, anything you get your streaming into your ears, we are there for you guys. You can also catch this show on Tuesdays live at 4:20, anywhere you get a live stream on Twitch, on X Live, on Facebook Live as well. And you can catch this show also live on YouTube, and dropping our entire catalog is on our YouTube channel. Go to the CorpseFeed YouTube channel, like, subscribe, and share. Make sure you comment. We see a bunch of you guys actually watching, which is awesome. Thank you so much for that. We really appreciate it. We love bringing you guys this content. Stay tuned for some more awesome stuff from CorpseFeed and the Morgue. And folks, remember, it's a scary world out there, but we are here to walk you through.